Tesla being one of the most discussed cars online in modern automotive history, there are a lot of hype around it. But there is also a lot of myths and misconceptions floating around. Whether you love it or hate it, let's dive into them. Welcome to Tande Garage. And as a new Tesla owner myself, I already run into a few of these. I want to set the record straight. So today we're going to go over 6 misconceptions about Tesla that people get wrong all the time. And the very first misconception that I have to bust, obviously, is going to be full self-driving. A lot of people assume that every single Tesla is fully self-driving right out of the box, but unfortunately that's not true. What you actually get is basic autopilot, which is your regular lane keep assist as well as adaptive cruise. I have it on the autopilot page. As you can see here, says traffic aware cruise control. This means that the car is going to have your adaptive cruise. It's going to cruise along with the car right in front of you, but it's not going to steer for you. And I have a toggle on with auto steer beta. That means that the car is going to have your adaptive cruise, and at the same time with lane keep assist, that's going to steer the car for you. But if you're all in for that full self-driving package, like automatic lane change on navigating on its own, you need to pay for full self-driving, either monthly base or a big one-time fee. Depends on where you stay in your region. That's going to cost however much it's going to need. For in Canada, it's going to cost you 99 Canadian dollars per month or 11,000 Canadian dollars for a one-time lifetime subscription. And even then, it's not truly autonomous. You still need to supervise it. Older Tesla also run on older processors. That means the self-driving is going to work worse compared to newer hardware. As you can see here, you can see it says autopilot computer, full self-driving computer 3. The newer ones come with a full self-driving computer 4, and the older one's going to be 2.5 or 2. And Tesla being an EV, it does not have your traditional engine in the car, whereas it has a massive battery pack right about in here in your undercarriage that's fully sealed against any weather environmental elements. And another myth is that Tesla batteries only last for a few years, and then you're stuck with a massive repair bill to replace the entire battery pack. But in reality, Tesla covers the battery and drive unit for up to 150,000 miles or about 195,000 kilometers. It depends on your region as well as depends on the model that you're getting. So make sure you check that out before you purchase the car. Another reality is that most battery packs just slowly degrade just like your phone would. Usually around 10% to 15% of its max capacity after about 200,000 kilometers driven. And as I mentioned earlier, because the battery warranty covers the battery as well as the drive units, if it fails early, Tesla just replaces it under warranty, but usually it's with a refurbished unit, though no cost on your own. And the next myth that I believe a lot of people don't really care about, but it's an interesting fact, is that a lot of people say Tesla does not have an OBD port like your normal car would. As you can see, there's nothing around this area. There is no an OBD port that you can plug in to read diagnostic whatsoever. But in reality, there is not only one OBD port in the car, but 2. And the first one is going to be right under your center console after you take this trim off. And the second one is on your passenger side after you take this, and this trim off. It's going to reside in this area right here. And the fact that not only there are 2 OBD ports in the car, what's cool is that if you go into your main menu, go into software, if you have a Model 3, click on Model 3, if you have a Model Y, click on the Model Y, whatever model that you have. Tap on it and hold until you see white dots that's fading out. It'll ask you for access code, and we are going to type in service. Click OK. It's gonna give you a generic warning message. Tap enter, and the car is going to enter service mode like this. Currently it's loading. It's done. It's going to give you the information such as the VIN, your autopilot hardware, and things that you can read, so I'm not going to go through that. You can go into, for example, service alert. It's going to give you a bunch of generic codes that you normally say could read with your OBD reader on any other cars. These are recent alerts, but they're not active, so basically they're like ghost code. And it doesn't have any impact to your driving. So I'm gonna go back out. What's cool also, you can check out charging, for example. It's gonna tell you the minimum temperature as well as your maximum temperature. Other than the service mode, currently I'm just gonna go back out by holding here, and then it's gonna go back out to your regular normal accessory mode until you tap on the brakes again. Other than the quote-unquote secret service mode as well as your regular service tab, another cool thing about the Tesla is that Tesla actually published their own official workshop manual online for free. Anyone can access, even if you do not own a Tesla. I'll post a screenshot in here, and that you can go through what you can actually do with your Model 3. Let's say if you change something as your suspension components, you know exactly which bolt torque to what. That's pretty cool, hey? On to the next. You'll often hear driving a Tesla is always cheaper than driving a gas car. And I can tell you right now, it's not necessarily true. It really depends on where you charge and what car you are comparing against. If you live in a condo and solely rely on superchargers, you might actually pay more than someone who drives, for example, a Toyota Corolla hybrid. But if you can charge at home with cheaper rates, then that's where you will actually save big. Second to last, a lot of people say Tesla is a death trap because of its electronic doors. As you can see, this is the door handle. You have to pop it a certain way, get it open, and if you go inside of here, this is your switch of opening the door. But if this fails, a lot of people say it's a death trap, that there's no other way you can open the door. This is where I'll prove you wrong. Now I'm going to head inside and close down the door. This is your regular switch to open the door, right? Let's say if this doesn't respond to you, and let's just say the car is on fire or whatever. There is still a mechanical switch a lot of people don't know about. It's this one, just like your regular trim panel, hey? It's not. So I'll go over underneath. You don't have to. You can just do it like this, but obviously you cannot see. So I'll go underneath in here. You can pull on it. Pull it up all the way. That's your mechanical switch, but you also get a message on your tablet saying manual door release use may cause damage to window trim. So if you use your manual door release other than any actual emergency, before you close down the door, you need to lower your window. I like to do it all the way, but you can just do it ever so slightly. And then you close down your door as regular. Because if you don't do that, the window may not actually go down when you release it and may hit the trim up top in here. That's gonna shatter your glass. And the manual switch is on the driver's side as well as the passenger side as well. There is also one for the rear passenger, but it's hard to get to. So if an emergency actually happened, I would advise simply just crawl through to the front and use the mechanical release and get out of the vehicle like that. And the problem is most people don't actually read their user manual or owner's manual and believe viral clips. But no, you will not be trapped in Tesla. And the last misconception, we are going to head back outside to the vehicle. This is a big one that I hear often. They're saying Tesla panels are all aluminum, which makes collision repair super expensive. If you dented the quarter panel, the car is totaled. Which is not actually true. Well, it's partially true, and I'll explain why. Taking my 2023 Model 3 as an example, I have got a magnet in here that's actually for the DJI Massimo Pocket 3, but I'll tell you exactly where it's aluminum, where it's not. Pretty obvious to you that the bumpers, front and rear, they're plastic, so there's no point for me to do that. The hood, aluminum. The fender is not, it's steel. Your A-pillar, steel. Rear cover, plastic. Front door shell, aluminum. Rear door shell, aluminum. Quarter panel, guess what? Steel. Your trunk, steel. Lower part, honestly, same trunk, but let's well show you, steel. And in case you want to get to the bottom of things, sort of your C-pillar, steel. Oh, got ceramic coating, that's why. Your B-pillar, steel. A lot of people should know already at this point, glass roof, so it's glass, not steel. So yeah, repairs are not always expensive because it's aluminum. But what I do find weird is that why does Tesla use steel fenders? I almost feel like it's cost cutting rather than a smart choice for weight distribution. As I mentioned earlier, the battery pack's underneath, somewhere inside in the undercarriage. So, okay, it makes sense for the doors to be aluminum because that's what the battery pack basically is. But the fenders are generally pretty light. Why uses steel instead of aluminum? I don't understand that. Cost cutting? Cheaping out? I don't know. And that's all for these 6 common misconceptions about Tesla that I've seen and wanted to clear it up. If you found this useful, please drop a like, subscribe for more Tesla ownership videos, and let me know in the comments what other myths that you've heard. I might feature yours in the next videos. With that being said, that's it for now, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.